Hello YouTube, introducing the very first injury Q&A on this channel. It's going to be something that is going to happen 4 times a year and is going to be on the same frequency as the ones about nutrition and about pure hypertrophy. The regular ones about just regular topics are going to be every month. But this is number 1. So any questions you might have about injury prevention, about how to rehab something, about how to prevent something from snapping, programming to avoid a certain type of tendon injury or overuse injury, all of that I will answer. Keep in mind, I'm not a doctor. I don't have a formal formation in any type of sports science or kinesiology or anything. It's just something that I'm knowledgeable about. I've went through a lot of injuries. I rehabbed them all to be 100%, so I want to help people do the same. So for today, I actually went into the other 2 Q&As to get questions that are going to be a good starter, right? But starting from now, if you want your question to be answered, you need to put it underneath the right Q&A. If you don't, you're highly reducing your chances of ever getting an answer because it becomes too hard for me to keep track. And the more Q&A I make, the tougher it is. So always make sure to put it underneath the right Q&A, and if you can, put it underneath the most recent Q&A as well. All of the Q&As are going to be put in the Q&A playlist, so they are easy to find and to track because they're going to be in order, and they have numbers in the title. So let's start today, right off the bat. First question, and for the first Q&A, sometimes I will say names, sometimes I won't. If I don't, it's because I got the question from a Q&A that was not super well organized, so I don't have the names, but for the following Q&As, I will always have your name. First question is, how to stop shoulder pain during the pullover? Pullovers are a very good and important exercise, in my opinion, for the lats. Some people feel it in the chest, and there's been talk for a long time now, for almost 50 years, of that lift being able to expand the rib cage. And what it means by that is, it is supposed to make you less narrow. Is there any truth to that? I don't know. I do know, however, that it made my chest look thicker from the front, where it looks like it's expanded. I don't know if it actually did, but it sure looks like it. And as far as the lats, with pull-ups, best 2 lats exercises in existence. For real, it's amazing what it did to my lats. I used to have no lats at all. I still am pretty lacking in this area, but just that lift by itself, high volume, did wonders. The issue is some people get shoulder pain. Why? Because there's a lot of shoulder flexion involved in the movement. What I would advise first is find your variation of the pullover. Some people do it fine with dumbbells. Some people can do it much better with a barbell. Try with an easy bar. You can try with plates. You can try with a cable. You can try with bands. As long as it's a pullover motion, it works. For me, easy bar curls doesn't feel as good, dumbbells feels amazing, but because of the position with the dumbbell, your hands are going to be quite close together and it might create some internal rotation in the shoulders, or the shoulders are going to be too stacked per se. It's fine for people like me who are narrow because it's not really unnatural for me. My shoulders are already so close together, but for some people it might hurt. If that's the case, try with an easy bar. I also want you to keep in mind that when you do pullovers, you need to always keep a flex in the elbow to engage the long head. That way it also helps not overextend. Remember, what you try to stretch is the lat, right? You're not trying to stretch the shoulder. You're moving the shoulder because it's going to extend and stretch the lat. And when you feel the end of the range of motion, like here, I'm at the end of the range of motion of the lat, don't do this. This is shoulder flexion. So if you get shoulder pain, it might be because you try to overreach and you try to go too deep. Range of motion exists to tax the muscle within the perfect range per se. And once the muscle disengages, there's no point in the range of motion anymore. So you need to stop when the lat stops expanding. That's very important to do. Also make sure to do your pullovers in in high rep ranges, with low weight. This is not a lift you want to be PRing on a daily. Don't ever go lower than 6 reps on this as a baseline. Never. There's just no point. You need the form to be perfectly straight. And as always with a lift, take it slow, take it easy, and rebuild. If you have pain, try with low weight and a different variation and build up. Don't jump into it. And if that still doesn't work, you might have a structural issue or an integrity issue in the shoulder that is coming from something else, but that is especially visible on pullovers. I've seen many people like this where they hurt their shoulders on presses, then they do pull-ups and they get pain and they think, oh, it's because of the pull-ups. No, it's because your shoulders are so tight that when you do something that is supposed to be good for the shoulders, because pullovers are supposed to be good for the shoulders, in the terms of injury prevention, it hurts because the shoulder is so tight that it's freaking out. It doesn't understand what's going on. You're pulling on something that's too tight and you're doing it too fast. So take your time is my advice. Dave C asks, or rather he says, my left arm is effed up. The shoulder feels like coming out of the socket when I overextend it, which don't. But more importantly, my elbow is giving me problems, constant pain in the tendon. So let's start with the shoulder. Your shoulder is one of the most flexible joints in your body. It's a good thing, it's also a bad thing. Why? Because it has ranges of motion that are weak, meaning that you can certainly go there, but if you go there with weight, it's gonna snap because it's not strong enough into the range of motion. So first off, you need to become really familiar with your shoulder, what works and what doesn't. For me, this here with a neutral grip is a recipe for disaster. My shoulders hate it. So any type of pressing with dumbbells like this, not possible. For me, a straight bar like this feels amazing with the elbows tucked. Anything like this, not possible. Why do I know that? Because I'm very familiar with my shoulder. I know it well. You need to do the same. Learn every single joint of your body, what it likes and it doesn't like. You're going to live in this body for the rest of your life. And don't overextend it, is basically what I say. And you tell me that the elbow is giving you problems, you have constant pain in the tendon, the one going from the tricep to the tip of the elbow, yeah, so it's golfer's elbow. When it's cold especially, so it means you have tendonitis. While I'm training less, but after it's really painful. It's definitely tendonitis. Any tips to solve it? It happened in January overdoing tricep things, French press, most likely because you either went way too low with the French press or you completely overextended the arm at the lockout. Any tip for tendon recovery, especially the tricep tendon? I'm very familiar with that tricep tendon. First off, you as far as recovery goes, try MSM powder. You can try to drink more water. You can try to sleep more and reduce your stress levels. That already does a lot. You can also ice the tendon every day, 3 times a day for 10 minutes, right? And once it's iced, don't move the arm. You let the blood flow in the area and then you move it. But what you're going to do and what is going to solve what you have, which is, I would put money on the fact that it's tendonitis because you have all the telltale signs. You want to make the tendon healthier. You're going to have to reinforce the muscle around it and you're going to have to reinforce the antagonistic muscles. So, on days where you do tricep movements, you want to have curling variations in there to work the bicep. The bicep is going to balance out the tricep. As far as the tricep goes, you don't want to stop working it, but you want to avoid movements that aggravate it, which means anything that you do that hurts, stop it, modify the intensity, do less weight, and stop locking your arms. Stop going all the way up on presses. Stop completely extending when you do extensions or behind the head extensions. There's no point. You don't get more gains from it, you just hurt your tendons. And when you go down, same thing, go down where it's comfortable, and when you feel like you're basically, the tricep is fully extended and you're starting to use tendon to rebound, stop before it. You might get weaker, but at least you're using the muscle and not the tendon. So that's most likely what's going to help you come back from all of that. Rest is not going to do much. Drugs, I would advise you to not take any. And I would also advise high frequency, high volume band tricep extensions. It's going to throw blood into the tendon, it's going to reinforce the area, and it's going to reteach you proper form on that movement of extension. Keep in mind, it's going to take a while. Tendonitis are there for a while, but also understand that if you stay within low intensity windows, you're not going to get snapped up from it. Meaning that a tendinitis that devolves into a tendon snap is usually by people who don't listen to the body and they keep pushing the weight. What you're going to do is actually going to make it better. And it's not going to be immediate, but one day you will wake up with no pain. So give that a try. After that, a generic question. What should you be doing before exercising? Before you exercise, you make sure that you're fed. You find the window of time before the training where eating is optimal, meaning you don't go in full and queasy, but you're also full of energy and you're not hungry, so you're focused on the workout. You warm up. Warming up is just picking movements that are going to replicate the heavy movement patterns you're going to do. Do them until you break a sweat or until you have a pump or until you're warm, and that's it. It's not rocket science, and then you train. DG Flex asks, sorry to ask a noob question, I don't want to waste your time, no worries. What is an effective schedule to hit everything twice a week, which should belong in the hypertrophy Q&A, but he asks, to prevent shoulders being sore on shoulder chest day. So that's a good question because a lot of people train with sore shoulders, and what you mean by sore shoulders is sore rotator cuffs, which is never a good thing. You never want that. So what you're going to do is you're not going to restrict your horizontal presses volume because it might lead to regression. What you're going to do is you're going to find variations that don't tax the shoulder as much. So if you want to do your heavy dips, your heavy bench with your regular style, that's fine. That being said, you don't want to do it every single time you bench or dip. You want to do close grip benches, you want to do football bar bench, you want to do some push-up, you want to do some, bend chest flies. All of these also work the chest. And I also am a big advocate on vertical presses on the same day as horizontal presses to close the day. So if you've done a heavy bench, you should end the day with a heavy overhead press. You're going to find that one, it doesn't hurt your progression and your strength potential as much as you would think, and it's going to make your shoulders feel amazing. I've had many, back when my shoulders were being an issue, I had many sessions where my shoulders were feeling icky after bench. Then I would go in, do heavy overhead press, and I would feel just fine. It's magical, and I really advise you try it. But as far as an effective schedule to hit everything twice a week, eat everything twice a week is going to require most likely a 6 days program unless you really want to pack a ton of volume in for 4 days. So if you do 6 days, most likely you're going to have 3 upper body days. So you can do one day where you do a bench variation and an overhead press. You can do your middle day where you do your heavy bench, horizontal press or whatever, and maybe some tricep movement. Then the last day you can do a bench variation and an overhead press. It depends on what you want, but basically what I would advise is don't repeat horizontal presses, especially when they're heavy, too often, because that is the type of stuff that actually makes the shoulders very sore. And of course, when you work the shoulders, to balance it out, always make sure that you do your face pulls and your real delt flies to protect the rotator cuff and strengthen the shoulder overall. And we're already on the last question of this Q&A because this one is going to be quite shorter than the others, I think. Pyrros asks, how do you deal with insomnia? So I actually have a video dropping this week. It is going to be, I believe, maybe Wednesday or Thursday on insomnia and on tips to gain better sleep. Because there are techniques to sleep longer, to fall asleep sooner, and to have better quality as well. Insomnia is tough to deal with because it's a vicious circle for a lot of people. They end up not feeling awake in the morning, so they abuse caffeine, and then they are awake at night, so they don't fall asleep, and they are still tired the next day, so they drink more caffeine. They basically tire their adrenal glands too much, and once you're stuck in that cycle, it's very hard to reset. Insomnia can also be caused by some stress in your life. It can be genetic, it can be hormonal. There are a lot of things going on. And the issue with it is It's also a stress factor in the sense that you know you have insomnia, so when you go to bed, you're already anxious at the fact that you're not going to fall asleep, and that makes it even worse because it prevents you from falling asleep. So in that, I'm glad that you asked this question now because I'm going to actually film the video about better sleep right afterwards. So I'm going to try and include insomnia in there as much as possible, and I suggest you watch this video too. It's going to be that for the injury Q&A. Any question you might have, put them in the comments, and I will include them in the next injury Q&A, which is going to happen in 3 months. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.